Hello, Guardians. Today is April the 7th, 2023. My name's Danfinity, and welcome to Destiny Digest. Welcome back, Guardians. Glad to have you here. Over 1,000 of you now are here subscribed to the channel. I'm floored. Just not that long ago, we hit 500. Floored. Had no idea that we'd be in this position in 8 months. Like maybe a year. Maybe a year. I could see it in a year, but not in 8 months. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. This week, we have a conversation with Infreak and Nelstar. I had a snafu happen with a guest that I was going to have on this week. And unfortunately, just dates got kind of mixed around. So thank you so much to Infreak and Nelstar for joining up and having this conversation with me this week. We received 2 major articles in Destiny 2 this week. The first being reflecting on Lightfall launch and beyond, and the This Week at Bungie that was released on the 6th. We won't go fully into all the nooks and crannies of the reflections, but it is a very good article. I'm going to be linking it in the show notes. Please go through and read that. I will be going through the bulleted list that is available in the TWAB. We'll also be linking that in the show notes as well if you want to give a little bit more in-depth look. Touching on the reflection on Lightfall, they did broach the subject of Guardian ranks, how you renew them, and how you'd technically prestige them going forward in Destiny 2, hopefully to be a more fair system. They also said that commendations won't be tightly tied to Guardian rank progression, with reduced requirements for ranks 7 to 9 and leadership commendations from ranks 10 to 11 being retroactive. For a little funsies, they did say that they are adding a best dressed commendation, which I'm sure so many of you are going to be jockeying for. In difficulty conversations, most activities will receive adjustments to difficulty and or rewards. Enemies won't be as tanky in legend and master activities. Scoring objectives will be adjusted to better suit bounties and guardian rank progression. They will be improving terminal overload matchmaking and making adjustments to team unfriendly Vanguard bounties coming in future seasons. You'll have a few more options for where you get exotic armor, with the Vex Strike Force awarding unobtained exotic armor pieces on a knockout list. They're also introducing exotic armor focusing next season and promising updates to more than 15 exotic armor pieces coming in Season of the Deep. When it comes to build crafting, in Season 21, we will see 2 new armor mods. Shoot to Loot will collect Orbs of Power in addition to ammo. They're adding 1 strand aspect per class. Artifact perks will be refunded and applied individually rather than the whole kit and caboodle all in one press. In Season 21, we will see no power level increase. So they're changing the schedule of events up. Trials of Osiris will be available in week 1. Weekly Grandmaster Nightfalls will become available in week 4. And Conqueror Gilding nodes will still be planned for week 7. In the TWAB, they also touched on the Grandmaster Nightfalls that are coming this upcoming Tuesday. Your power level caps 25 levels below the activity level. So for Season 20, that means combatants will be 1840, but you will be 1815 at the most. Combatants can take more hits, deal more damage, and be more aggressive. Champions will be more abundant, as always, but you'll have more ways to deal with them. There will be 1 burn that will cause you to receive 25% more damage from a certain element. You'll also receive 2 elemental surges and overcharge weapons, both granting a 25% damage increase. Revives will be limited, as they always are. And after a certain amount of time, darkness will encroach and you won't be able to revive or be revived. They are making some adjustments to some heist battlegrounds. Specifically for Mars, they are decreasing how often combatant spawns on higher difficulties in the tower phase. They are increasing the map score multiplier to help players reach score goals without exploits, such as dying and then reviving your teammate, and then dying and then reviving your teammate, and then dying, and well, you get the picture. They will also be adding 1 additional ammo crate. In other heist battlegrounds, they are reducing the frequency and number of some combatant waves in all boss fights, reducing the health of the Death Tongue choristers. Hive runes will now have the same health on all difficulties, and they will be thinning out the fallen trip mines in Heist Battleground Moon. Season 21 will also see several weapons leaving different playlists. For Nightfalls, we will see Mindbender's Ambition and Militia's Birthright both taking a hike. Trials of Osiris the Inquisitor and the Whistler's Whim will both be leaving. For Iron Banner, the Wizened Rebuke and the Hero's Burden. And for competitive, the Rose will be splitting out from that playlist. Weapons coming in for Nightfalls, we'll have the Braytech Osprey and the Loaded Question. Vanguard, Positive Outlook. For Gambit, we will receive a new Strand Linear Fusion Rifle. In Crucible, Randy's Throwing Knife is making its grand return. For Trials of Osiris, we will get a new Arc Glaive. And the Messenger, the Kinetic High Impact Pulse Rifle, will make its grand return. Iron Banner will get a Strand Fusion Rifle and Swarm of the Raven. And for competitive, we will be seeing an Arc Sniper Rifle. For all this news and more, please check out the articles in the show notes. Now for a conversation with Infreak and Nelstar 15. Nelstar and Infreak, welcome to the show. Thank you for being last minute guests. Thank you so much. Why don't we start out the show? This is always the awkward bit. So why don't we start out the show? Tell folks where they can find you on the internet and what you do in the Destiny 2 community.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you can find me everywhere at Nelstar15. That's like the benefit of having a number in my name is that I have the username literally everywhere. So Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. That's like the ones that I use. Instagram's not gaming though; it's just my dog. So
that's a good way to do it, though.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm really like known for anything in the Destiny community. I just play and have fun with buds and try and get as many people through in-game content as I can. Try and make in-game a little bit more accessible for people who otherwise wouldn't be able to play it.
Heck yeah, Infreak. What about you?
Yep. So yeah, you can find me at. I actually somehow managed to get the handle Infreak and everything, despite somehow being taken on a lot of other sites. But some places it's Infreak D2, but I think like YouTube is that, but look at it. You can find me. I'm actually locked right now because I'm on the job hunt. But
yeah,
look at the name, you'll find anyway. But I am mostly in-game PvE stuff. Since Splicer, I've been doing like solo GMs every season. Trying to get more into doing low man raids more often, stuff like that. Past few weeks, I'm actually doing a lot of it. Master Ron helps as well, so kind of finally kind of get in into like trying to help people like get stuff done. I've always tried to, and just never really have folks to help out.
Yeah.
So,
oh no, I understand. I understand that.
We have like a whole team ready to help people out, and then that's like, oh, okay, no one's coming in.
yeah.
But
well, that puts us at a. I think everybody here helps people with in-game PvE activities, which is like a solid place of common ground here. What? Nell, have you also jumped into Master Ron yet?
I have. Ron has been like the most I've done any of like the challenges for. Already went through and did it flawless, which was super fun. Was ruined by the launchers every single time. But it only took us like 10 tries, and it was a really cool group. It was me, Mittens, Kittens, Dan, and it was Dan and Pigeon and a few others, which was a really fun group to play with. But yeah, so I haven't done this week's challenge in Master Ron, but that's simply because I've been busy. And by busy, I mean I've been watching so much wrestling because it's the week after WrestleMania.
Oh yeah, it's the week after. Yeah. Infreak, what about you, man?
Yep. Yeah. Well, let me tell you, this week's is a doozy.
Yeah, I keep hearing that from like
I've been
KFD
in there,
Mitch.
Yep, I've been in there all morning helping Bona and Cordy get some helps done. And like we got our 3 with our normal team yesterday. Hopped in today to get it done, and it's not even the challenge itself. It's finicky, of course, but it's definitely kind of shows the issues with the physics there.
Yeah,
but it's mostly survivability's sake.
Okay,
like that's just getting a little tricky for a lot of people.
Yeah,
bugs. Tons of bugs.
Yeah,
Also.
I hear that like teams are mainly having issues with the launchers, and
Don't send Warlocks over.
yeah, well,
Don't let Warlocks run it.
Don't do that. But there was also the a couple of instances. I know Mitch went through and talked about this, like in my Twitch chat the other day, and he's like, if you go down a floor, you fail. If you use Strand, you fail. Like it's they want you to use a particular set of they want you to use the launchers for basically the entire thing, and there's so many fail states in there.
Yep.
Even if you use the launchers, you may still fail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the way we've kind of figured it out. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just saying, like, yesterday, we were in there for an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
We did the whole run. Nowhere did it say that we failed it, but then we completed the encounter, and then it said, like, we didn't get the chest. So it failed us without telling us that it failed, and we don't know why. And, like, this is not the first time that it happened to people that were not run. They were like, yeah, the first time we did it, it did the same thing. We had to redo it again. And it's just so frustrating. Or also, you know, when you try to get the buff at the end before you move to the next floor, to kill like the 3 big ads that spawn. Sometimes if you pick up like the dark side before, or you pick up before the text app appears at the bottom left side of the screen, that soft lock you. And it's like, okay, so that happened to us multiple times. We also had like connection issues yesterday. That's a whole other point. But like an hour and a half for something that should have taken maybe like half an hour tops.
Yeah.
And still failed at the end.
Yeah,
like,
it's a fun one.
It's such a frustrating thing, and I'm just like, Bungie, please, like, fix your stuff, please. Anyway, keep going.
Like so the launchers are an issue there. Ad clear is an issue there. Like, what
For us, neither of these were an issue, so it's just bugs. So that's a whole other thing too. On top of that, launchers, ad clear, bugs, soft locks, encounter failing without reason, without the game telling you that the encounter failed anyway. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah. I think it's one that could be interesting if they not like fix up some of the issues of the launcher before. Oh, excuse the pun, before launching it.
Yeah.
But like
It's
it's nice to actually. Like I said, we've been doing it, and we've been doing for helps too. It's like we actually have somewhat. It's not just like 2 people doing one mechanic and that's it. We actually have 2 and 2. 2 are full heavy ad clear, but 2 are also on top of their own ad clear, keeping an eye on the runner across the way to help them over.
Okay.
So it's kind of nice to have like another role in there.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is the way that we figure this is set up. It's like there seems to be like an invisible barrier on each side of the arena.
Mm-hmm.
But it happens. It's like it's like right. It's right where the switch is. It seems.
Okay.
It could be. They could put it a little further up, but it seems to be like right where the switch is. So if you just go over that without someone else in the launcher on the other side, that fails it.
Ugh.
Like the slightest. Actually, on the 3rd floor, you can actually walk into some spots. That'll fail it.
Oh my God, you're kidding.
It's one of those ones. Like I love the idea in theory. I think it'd be like, and when you get a team that's like really pulling off smoothly for like repeat runs, it is genuinely a fun one. But
yeah,
there are just way too many really finicky issues with it.
I like that encounter at least on normal, and like I feel like it's fun to be the runner for that. Just trying to go as fast as you can. But yeah, that seems finicky and not.
Yeah.
And it's like from a dev perspective, like I keep going back and like every time I'm in there, I'm like thinking about it from like the dev side of things. There are so many moving pieces for every single launcher that something's bound to fail every single time. And so it's almost like the game or the engine wasn't ready for this type of collision to happen repeatedly. And so because of that, that's what's issuing the challenge to everyone, is that the game's just not like it's just too complex of an item to work properly every single time. Otherwise, you know, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
It seems like it would be fun during like a Mario Party style game mode.
I just want like a big team battle with launchers in PvP, and like let's just take off. I'm gonna throw my sword on and I'm gonna lunge at you midair. It'd be great.
It feels like a seasonal or like a dares mechanic rather than a raid mechanic, you know?
Yeah,
it does. But like I do like I said, like I also really that actually is probably my favorite encounter in the raid when it goes smoothly. But that involves it going smoothly. Yep.
God,
like we did the Burgundy run. I did the whole duo run a few weeks ago, and like that encounter with it, like actually with the added pressure of having to essentially not die the entire time and still handle the running position. It was just like honestly, it felt like one of the craziest things to do. Like it wasn't even that challenging for us, but it was just a lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of moving parts, I'm sure, in that challenge.
Next encounter, on the other hand. If you ever do a duo on that one, have fun with that encounter.
So, what are your guys' thoughts overall on Lightfall and Season of the Defiance so far? Like, counting the raid, even though we discussed the raid a little bit here, how have you guys been feeling about just the season in general?
I'm not gonna lie, this is the most fun I've had in Destiny in a while. And for me, like there are the complaints about the story, and everybody's complaint about the story is valid. You do you. I enjoyed the story of Lightfall. I thought it was a nice refresher from all the doom and gloom we've had nonstop. It's like holy crap, there's someone who's positive. Also, he's a Zoomer. Let's enjoy it.
Yeah.
But for the changes to loadouts, to Guardian ranks, obviously complaints about Guardian ranks too. But then the mass amount of activities that are happening, whether that's, terminal overload or Vex Strike Force or your time trial, like there's just so much to do. I've had more fun now than I have in a long time. And I'm playing with buds who haven't played in 4 years, right? I think that's probably one of the coolest things is they saw Lightfall and they're like, yeah, okay, I'll get back into it. Looks like an easy way to get back into Destiny. So with that, it's super fun. I love the new activity for Season of Defiance. I hate that story was so short, though. Yeah. I thought it was a really, really cool story, even though we didn't have a big bad for the season. It was really fun, really cool. The weapons are great. I mean, I have my minor complaints, but a lot of those were addressed in yesterday's article. Like I'm tired of loading into terminal overload, and it's just me.
Oh yeah, had that happened twice yesterday.
yeah, it happened 3 times to me this morning. I was like, oh, God, come on. So like some of the changes they're making, I'm welcoming too.
Yeah, honestly, I'd say I'm kind of in the same boat. I know, like, it's easy to want to echo a lot of like the Twitter and Reddit complaints and everything, and some of them are valid. Like, I personally wasn't the biggest fan of the character. I wasn't the biggest fan of Nemesis' character until they really fleshed him out in the post-campaign missions, which were phenomenal. Like I know, like I didn't necessarily hate the campaign. I didn't really dislike it. I thought it was good for what it was trying to do, but it was like the post-campaign missions were really what kind of sealed in for me.
Yeah.
But I think there was a lot of like unrealistic expectations set for what the patrol zone was going to be. And I've been saying, like, honestly, it's kind of exactly what I wanted in patrol zone. I kind of I like how things feel threatening, but not so much that it's like unplayable, except for the threshers. Thank you. Yeah, those are tough stuff. But like, so in terms of the actual expansion content, I've been loving it so far.
Heck yeah.
Like, I know that if I want to jump into the raid, like I say, again, I definitely echo it was it's an easier whole W raid, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, yeah, maybe do I want a day one like more on the lines of VOW next time around or something? Absolutely. But am I mad about having a really fun, really easy one? No, it was really cool.
That's been my argument all along. It's like, does every experience have to be ball crushingly hard?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just this is so cool because like the discourse around like day one and people getting their clears aside, this is the first time about 24 of my friends have ever raided in Destiny because it's always been too much of a challenge for them, or they don't have the time to put in. And so Ron is a really good way for new players or vets who just don't raid because of the time sink to get in and get a raid clear and experience that level of in-game. And I think Lightfall being this easily accessible expansion has been so good for Destiny leading into the final shape.
Yep.
I know. So I had somebody on Sunday. Her her name was Kat. She came into the channel. It was like her first. She's been coming around for a little bit, and she was like, "I've never done the raid," and it's like, all right, yeah, let's like hop in. Turns out she had never played with anybody before. Like this, we were the first fire team that she ran with, and then so we took her through the raid. She did great the entire time, and like that. I don't want to say accessibility because that's different. I feel like it is
ease of access.
Yeah.
There you go.
And it's like that. Watching her become more confident each encounter and how to do that raid pointed to me like why it kind of exists. It is an easier raid, but it is one that is I can see that becoming like addicting for people if that's like their first one. They're like, oh yeah, this is great. Like I can hop into this, and then you can start jumping into like Kingsfall or Garden if you want to. If you're looking for added difficulty.
So much hate.
I have a little hot take on Garden as well.
Okay, sure.
So I think personally, I'm not like a clear farmer or anything or speedrunner. Don't get me wrong there, but
sure.
I know that audience is something else. But we have a meme I'm not going to repeat about garden farmers in our clan.
Okay,
but it's a legitimate raid. I think it's like, since it's one of those ones like everyone really needs to be like on point of like what they're doing, and there's really no like everyone needs to be doing something. Plus Divinity is not, it was nice to have a quest exotic, but at the same time it kind of becomes a one and done raid. I know so many people who've run it like twice, 3 times, that every single one has been like a very painful Sherpa run. Trying to like get 4 people through it for the first time to get the thing. And I've noticed like that kind of really taints a lot of the opinions on that raid.
I agree.
The final boss can just be so jittery and like
when the portal goes all the way behind him.
And it's like or like he goes up and you're like he's something turned him and he's just ever so slightly T-posed up in the air. And you can't hit.
Perfect. But I definitely had some issues, but I definitely think that's a lot of community sentiment that comes from behind just like bad experiences with it.
Yeah. The thing with Garden is like, are you going to get a good bug on the final boss or a bad one?
You got to get a good bug. You have to find the good bug.
My last clear was 23 weeks ago, and on the final boss, he just never went out of damage phase. And so we just burned him down and only had to do one set of the encounter to get him down. But then my previous run of Garden was like 100 weeks before that. Like I hadn't run it in almost 2 years. And we got a bug where we couldn't damage him at all. It was great. It's a different experience every time you go in. So
one who doesn't have these issues when I run Garden, like we've got some slight bugs, but nothing like that. Like you tell me all of these and I'm like, I've never had that.
Well, I've seen a handful of them.
Well, like, I mean, I don't know. Every time I've run it lately, it's been with you.
And we didn't have bugs, right? And bugs, you know, Dan, how usually I'm the one who gets all the bugs because my account is cursed, right? We've talked about this. You've seen it multiple times, how it's absolutely insane how cursed I am. Like, I play regular content on hard mode just because I get so focused by all the ads all the time. Anyway, and like the stupidest deaths all the time just because, oh yeah, we're all going to turn on her and just kill her at the same time. But anyway, we run Garden with me and like, there's slight things, like sometimes, it happens, but nothing like people say. And I'm like, what the hell? What is happening? I have more bugs in other raids than in Garden, which is so strange.
So if you're wanting to run Garden, make sure that you have a Zephyl on the team.
Yeah, there you go. You're going to have a good run.
You'll have a very clean, very, very, very smooth run at Garden of Salvation.
Should be getting the refresh in a couple seasons, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That's probably going to be like one of the next 2 or 3 to get it. Well, only 3 left. One of the next 2 to get it.
Yeah, with the red borders and everything. Yeah.
Yep. And maybe perks that are actually interesting.
Look, bro. That auto rifle is one of my favorite auto rifles in the game. The Reckless Oracle is fantastic.
That is a good one.
Pulse is good. The Pulse is also good, and the bow can be good too. So
there's so many really solid weapons in there that I'm really looking forward to them adding more perks to those in the future. They're just like so cool. But going back to something that Nell said here, where you said that you were kind of disappointed in like the length of the story for Season of the Defiance. Mm-hmm. Do we feel like it's one of those situations where we've, over the past couple of years, we've been getting the telenovela experience. Every week we get something new and something like to push the story forward. This time around, obviously, Lightfall is taking the main heft of the story telling, with Defiance being a little on the back burner and maybe feeling a little rushed in places to get the story done within a certain time frame before Grandmasters and everything. Is that... How do we feel about Season of the Defiance in comparison?
My thoughts are mostly with story, and the fact that it ended with such a massive piece of storytelling that we got there so fast. It never felt like it really established itself. It never really set up why we're doing what we're doing. It was just like, the witness is taking people. Now go save them. And like, it was nothing really beyond that. Sure, we can dive into it and we can go full dive on it and really get into the lore of what's happening and all that. But at face value, it felt like it was, the witness is taking people. Oh crap, she's dead.
Yeah.
Like it just went from that to that. And there was no in between. And I think that's my biggest complaint, especially for a character that size, right? As big as she is and as important as she is to the story, it felt like she deserved a better send-off than what we got.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like I kind of feel like even that last cutscene, I'm trying to think of where that happened in the room and where were we and kind of what happened. It was just kind of all came out at once. Yeah,
we were outside.
We were at the door.
We had cleared the room. We had cleared everything, and she was in there and like.
Yeah, but let's be honest. That would have been us and not her usually.
Usually, yes.
But like, I wouldn't.
Which is why I'm just like, why? I don't know.
Yeah, like I wouldn't fine with it as like the big end of the season event if they built it up more and let up more to it.
Yeah,
like it felt rushed. It felt rushed.
A couple more weeks. Give us a little bit more background on really why the witness is taking all these people and why the Shadow Legion's there and why they're doing this and why they're doing that. And I think it just needed like 2 more weeks in my opinion. But the activity itself is super fun. I've enjoyed every time I've been in there. It's fun on harder difficulties as well. If you want a ball crushingly hard experience, go into that on Legend, right? Like it is tough. And the weapons of the season are fun. I finally have an auto rifle to replace Reckless Oracle and Perpetualis, so I'm happy about that. The story, man. I just wish we got a little bit more.
Yeah.
Do you think we could get something toward the end of the season as like a little send off bit? Just because
there's still a secret triumph.
Yeah,
there's still a secret triumph that hasn't been unlocked yet. So
okay.
Yeah, there'll be an epilogue. There has to be, especially with that. Like sure, we got the sad Zavala for 2 weeks, but there was no resolution to how everyone else is feeling or what we're gonna do moving forward. With because whenever Cade died, we got a story piece that was like, hey, we're doing this moving forward. We're going to kick ass. We're going to take names. This time around, it was shit. She's dead. All right, we're not gonna do anything about it.
Moving into some of the articles that we received this week, we got the Reflecting on Lightfall Launch and Beyond yesterday. Pardon me. On Wednesday, April 5th, where they went into their goals for ranking up in Guardian ranks, where they feel like they've succeeded and where they feel like they kind of missed the mark. in there we have they talked about difficulty adjustments and Legend and Master activities, as well as on Neomuna patrols and Lost Sectors. What were some of your guys' thoughts and feelings in that portion of the article up to difficulty?
Well, I think most of at least that bit's already live, isn't it? I think aside from the commendation changes. I think a good chunk of it already is. Yeah. Let's say commendations, I'm very glad they're starting to slowly untie it from anything gameplay related or anything rank up related, because that felt like it was going completely against the point of the system. So I'm glad to see that it's still there, but nowhere near as much as something you'll just accomplish in regular day-to-day whatever now, rather than needing to farm Petra's runs to actually get the last ranks.
Yeah.
I also say, starting on, I saw the numbers, I started jumping on that, and I'm glad that's not a thing anymore.
Yeah.
It ruins the point.
Yeah. Commendations were weird because I was like, this is really cool. I was looking at it without the Guardian ranks attached to it, but I think my biggest complaint coming out of commendations was, hey, we're going to reset your Guardian rank every season. But I like what they've explained here, that, hey, yes, we're resetting it, but you're going to be able to fast track to where you were the previous season and continue to show it. But there needs, and I get why they're doing it. Like, from a dev perspective, the players and the users need something to chase. And this is an additional item for them to chase every single season. And to just keep it going, we get 4 seasons down the road and all of our Guardian ranks are going to be 47, right? Also think about it from that perspective, to keep it at a manageable level of Guardian ranks. But I do like the idea of, let's fast track you in the next season to where you were previously.
Plus, I was kind of mixing that first into the article, but it made a lot of sense. Like, one thing, that example, think of maybe someone who was a top player in whatever sandbox back in the Forsaken era. Fast forward them to today, it's a completely different game. It's a completely different game. It's a completely different experience. If we had that ranking back then, and they were max rank, second month of Forsaken or whatever, that would not apply today. So I think that's kind of what they're going for. Fast track actually showed the general game experience, but things change, so we got to reflect it.
Yeah, I was when going through this article, I was like, okay, it's good that they're acknowledging Guardian ranks. Last week I was on DCP and I asked the question, I was like, are Guardian ranks for everybody? Are they just a way to get new players into the game and aiming at things rather than just fumbling around in the dark, which was kind of what they did previously? And it didn't really feel previous to this article, it didn't really feel like those, it was a system that was built for veterans. And it's with it, especially with it being very PvE biased, and it pretty much, it still pretty much tells new players, if they're jumping in, you don't need to do Crucible or Gambit at all. Just hop in and play PvE and you're fine.
Did they address that at all in the article the other day? I forget. I don't think they mentioned anything in that.
I'm looking through, unless they start tying some seasonal stuff into it, I don't see that really changing.
Something I was really hoping to see, and so far nothing, but I want to see them give, how some Guild of Triumphs, you want to do X amount of triumphs to actually get it done. I want to see them do something like that, where it's maybe that one, one or two categories, you need to do either these or these. But you need to do something from one of these categories. One is GMs, one is trials. Do stuff like that.
Yep.
I want to see I want to see more options for especially for PvP and even the Gambit mains to actually get those ranks going without having to go into stuff they don't usually touch.
To be a more well-rounded experience.
Yeah. Exactly, and also give the opportunity to newer players who use the system more than we do. I was looking through a lot of the earlier ranks that we were fast tracked through. The only
one or two in each one.
The only PvP related thing in there, and nothing for Gambit, which I know say what you say about the mode. It's kind of there.
Look, I have fun with it lately.
I do too, but it has not been touched in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like the only related triumph, or I guess technically triumphs in there, was one to go talk to Saint about trials.
Yeah,
That was it.
That was it.
just give him a high five.
Right. I would even like in the early levels, I would see like maybe like, especially now that like SBMM is in quick play, like say, hey, go play one control game, go have fun, go give that a try. That should one single game.
Go talk to Drifter. You know, Drifter has quests to get different weapons, right? Like you have to talk to Drifter to get certain things. Go talk to him. Play a round of Gambit. Granted, we know there's only 2 maps that are really in the rotation, but go have fun.
So what's kind of interesting there is too, there actually is like a new light quest for each of the 3 vendors, like which basically does do that. It's like do these couple games of whatever, do these couple strikes, do these whatever. It kind of feels like another little disconnect there.
Yeah, even though it's not connected to Guardian ranks, it does point you to somebody who does have a goal for you. Do you think if they tied like something in at a later rank of like, oh, hey, go do your comp placements, that would be too big of a hill for some people to climb? Or
I think I would say if it was like forced and like the only way to rank up, maybe even if you don't need to win the games, you just like win or lose 7 games, that's still a lot. Like that is stressful when people don't touch PvP.
Yeah.
And fully admittedly, that can like if someone's in there just to get that done, like kind of get in and get out, especially if they're going in solo, that is frankly like that can just really suck for the teammates who are actually really trying to win their games, so they end up on their team. So it's kind of a lose-lose for everybody involved.
Yeah.
But I think if they went the route of making again like optional or branching paths to follow up, and one of them is do your placements, I think that's more reasonable.
Absolutely. We also saw that they're going to be adding a commendation for best dressed, which I think is pretty fun.
Yes.
Yeah. I love it.
So excited. That's going to be Big Daddy Teach's favorite commendation.
Yeah, 100%.
If I ever get that one, I'm going to be actually kind of disappointed because I'm one of those idiots who just puts the same shade on everything.
Oh, same.
I literally have it hanging on the wall over there. I got like the painted one by a friend of mine.
Incredible.
Whatever makes all my gear all black. That is what I run every time.
You can guess the color scheme looking around here.
Oh yeah. And seeing some of your new branding that's been popping up, which looks good, by the way. Hey, shout out to the Dizzies.
Love this, guys.
Yeah. So for the difficulty adjustments, we saw while we feel incoming damage for players is in a great spot in Legend Master mode activities, non-boss units had a bit too much health and could feel a little bit more than bullet sponges than we like. So they made some changes to the bosses and everything. They're making changes to the heist battlegrounds, specifically Mars, for like ammo crates and decreasing how many waves spawn in during the towers phase. I know they talked about Neomuna patrol, like taking off some of the orange bar enemies to keep it from being that difficult of an activity. Even though like it has felt like in most patrol zones that you can just bypass all enemies and just go wherever you please. One of the big things, the Lost Sector bit here, where they're like, hey, we actually think that this is in a good spot based on where players are going to be. Like, how do you feel like difficulty is starting to even out across the game in like in a season and a DLC where many of the difficulties have really felt uneven based on what you were getting into?
Yeah, it's like I would say overall I like the direction, but like it kind of feels like all over the place. I was kind of like I kind of want to go like I want to like make sure I agree for like wasn't mad about an easier day one raid, but it was really weird how the day one raid felt easier than a Master Nightfall. That was real weird to me. Like even if I think it's the same level scaling, but there's something weird going about like behind the scenes, or I don't know. I do think like like if not for me, I do agree with the changes they're making with like the 10% like reducing the bullet sponginess a lot of enemies. Like I think that's a good change. Like it's not for me, but like, I understand why they're doing it. Totally fine.
Yeah. I agree. Like, I enjoyed everything being really difficult, but then again, I see it from the perspective of the people that I've been helping out this season. They're like, I'm dying nonstop. I don't know, like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I don't know why this is happening to me. So it makes sense, but at the same time, like, we're gonna start experiencing even more power creep as we get more crafted weapons unlocked. We get more gear, all the exotics, and we just generally farm. We're gonna find that these changes probably make the game back to where it was last season. A little bit too easy. Everything just kind of dies. Sorry, my dog's attacking me. And I liked where it was, but I agree. Like, it's not, the change isn't for me. It's for the general population of the game that don't play the game, 6 hours a day like I do.
And I kind of want to touch on the patrol zone particularly. Like, going in there, like, it's actually probably my favorite patrol zone to actually kind of like mess around when. Well, I'm kind of done with it, but when I was doing a lot of stuff in there, it really was. But I think there's not like a big enough stepping stone of the game coming from like anybody coming from like other patrol zones going into the new content immediately. There's not really a big stepping stone. Like, I know a lot of folks going in there, there's immediately gonna like, why am I getting obliterated by patrol ads? I don't do this kind of level content. I don't know what's going on here. I can't do this. And it's like,
so they kind of needed to soften up the incline there.
Yeah, like, I do think maybe it should be toned down a little bit overall, but I would be happy. I think, let's say if they brought that one down, like maybe like even like a 5-level difference, like a 5-level modifier difference would be probably a sweet spot, and then final shape put it at this level. I think that would have been more reasonable.
Yeah,
like much more of a stepping stone. Really, a lot of people like kind of adjust, learn new. Like, I know, like, it'd still be rough for people like hopping in for a new expansion, of course. But at least for like anyone sticking around a little, like for like a season or two before the new one, they have some little bit of like
they start smacking you in the face a little bit more.
Yeah, they're a little less. How to put this? It's like a smoother incline to get like to actually adjust to it. Yeah, they're not just like fighting like E to Z patrol ads and then jumping into like a GM like kind of right now.
This is like the hardest thing, right? Like, this is something the devs were talking about whenever I was working on Outriders. It's how do you make the game difficult enough to satiate the hardcore players, but also make it towards there's an ease of access for the general player base, or your normal gamer who works in a 9 to 5, come home and has an hour and a half to play, maybe 2 or 3 times a week. And I think we're almost getting into that sweet spot of where most of our hardcore players are starting to enjoy the difficulty changes that they're seeing, but it's also still playable for the 2, maybe once a week player that is just logging in to try and run a strike or a nightfall with his bud. So this is going to be a never-ending cycle of information that we get from Bungie, because they're going to overtune things, they're going to undertune things. And
the push and the pull.
Yep. And you can only find that balance by testing. It is trial and error to find that spot. And I agree. I wanted Ron to be more difficult, but at the same time, like I said, to start this off, it was really nice to see people who have never raided to get into the raid and get a clear. And it was really nice for people who've never done contest mode to get in and experience that, whether they cleared it or not. A lot of people got in and were able to down at least the first encounter, right? So I think they're slowly making their way to the sweet spot. And while I want the final shape to be, as I always say, ball crushingly hard, maybe that's not the sweet spot, right? There needs to be a reason or a way for other people to play the game.
Exactly.
Okay, I have a question for you guys. Have you played the beta for Diablo 4?
Yes.
Nope.
Okay. That's fine. You'll know what I'm talking about. You've probably seen it in other games. So if you've noticed, if you've played with other people that were like wildly different levels than you, like you were in a group, but then somebody was 25 and you were still leveling up another character, what Diablo has decided to do with Diablo 4 is that instead of, so in Diablo 3, if you've played it, if you joined somebody on their team, the world would be at their level. So if you were like wildly higher than them, you would keep your power level, but you would go into a world where it was at the power level of the
You're
team
like
leader.
max
Let's call
strength.
it that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So if that team leader was level 10 and you were like max level, you would go and fight at level 10. Like all the enemies would be level 10.
Mm-hmm.
To avoid kind of like power creep and whatnot, Diablo 4 has decided that since their world is kind of it's like open world and you can meet random players as you move through the world. And if you join on somebody, your teammate will keep their level and you will keep your level, but you will both be fighting the same boss, but at your own like respective level.
I think like Borderlands 3 did that. Same kind of
Probably
idea.
something like that, right? So like, I don't know if it would be possible in Destiny. I don't know because I don't know the coding. I don't know whatever. But if that were a possibility in patrol zones, we're not talking about raids or whatever, like, but in patrol zones, would that be something that you would think would work well or would be interesting to at least test? Because I think it's a cool idea because you remain at your level. It can be frustrating if you want to just mindlessly grind and help somebody level up because you're keeping your level. So you're always kind of, you have to fight at your level.
Yeah.
But like in patrol zone, like let's say in Neomuna, you would keep your level, but if you encounter like a level 1 blueberry, like a guardian rank level 1 blueberry, you could help them. They would fight at their level, but you would fight at your level. Like, would that be something you think would be interesting to try?
If that is a system that they could implement, I think that's
right.
It's an interesting concept. Now, what also comes with that is how you instance. And I think that is probably not knowing the dev side of things, not really knowing how they develop for instances themselves. That feels like it would be a separate monster in all of the spaghetti
I'm just
code,
throwing the idea out there, right? Because I think it'd be cool in patrol zones to have that type of stuff, and you would still end up with like specific levels for like raids and whatever else.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be, if possible, would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If technically possible, yes.
I think like the whole like conversation about the new patrol zone really kind of like brings like a long standing discussion kind of to the forefront where it's like patrol zones have always been just kind of just there.
Yeah.
You go in, you do your thing, and you get out. Like, and even like newer players, like actually I think surprisingly, I think a lot of I think it was a really big portion of players who just do patrol zones.
Yeah,
they never really had much to offer.
Charlemagne has that.
I realized as I was saying that I think it's actually pretty significant. But I do think like even difficulty leveling aside, I think like this one's bringing a lot of cool new things that I want to say. Like, I would love to see them do a refresh of some of the old zones. I don't think it's going to happen. But going forward, like we basically got a world boss in the form of the new public event, like that kind of thing. I would love to see like, kind of run see the old Dreaming City ogre that almost no one's ever seen. One of this is a really convoluted way to spawn it. I would love to see like, more of that.
One you're talking about. Yeah,
I haven't fought it yet. I've never actually fought it. I know it's there, but I've never done it.
You have to be there at the right time. You have to have people to help you make it appear. People have to know how to do it. Yeah, it's super complex for no reason. And I'm just like, guys, please. It's been in this game for years. Can we please just make it appear so people can finish it? I had to hunt for it with people. And you know how we did it?
I don't even think there's a triumph for it. I think it's just there.
There's a triumph for it, yes. And we did it.
I guess I have it. But.
we did it. I think so. We did it because we did it during the Coup de Grace mission during like holy hell festival, like Season of the Lost or something. You could load up into the Coup de Grace mission and like that would load the whole kind of zone area. And we did it there. Like we went back into the public place and waited and did it. It was the stupidest stuff ever.
Yep.
Swear to God.
Yeah. Like difficulty aside, I want to see more stuff like that. I feel like they're kind of going that direction. Finally.
When it comes to because we also got updates on build crafting. What were some of your takeaways from that? From that portion of the article, I really like the change to what was it? I like that they're making exotic Ingrams more focused and also like bringing more possibilities to get exotic offerings from other activities outside of Lost Sectors.
Lost Sector grinding is not the play. Even if you're over leveled to help past it to knock it out, like it's not worth the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad they're already putting a lot more options for that.
Listen, this is where I have my biggest complaint from this article. I love that we're doing exotic focusing. I love the changes to build crafting. I love every bit of it. But the material economy in Destiny has been streamlined to 4 materials, and we still only have the same number of ways to get those materials.
Mm-hmm.
And now everything costs Ascendant shards, right? Like we have to have Ascendant shards, and we could still only hold 10 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is the biggest detriment to crafting weapons, to focused encoding, to generally just making new builds, is that we are so limited to the amount of materials that we can hold. And I'm not saying like make it easier to get these materials, just make it to where I can go into a different type of legend or master difficulty activity and get a guaranteed drop like I do in GM Nightfalls. Like I love running GMs. Don't get me wrong. I love it. I have been hardcore into GMs for the past 4 seasons. That's when I started doing them, mainly because I was a solo player before that. But there needs to be other ways for us to get materials. Otherwise, you're in the situation where I am right now, where when Lightfall came out, this is the first expansion where I'm playing all 3 of my characters. Normally, I just do my Warlock and my Hunter. Those are the only 2 I focus on. Sword Titan mains. Punching things gets old. But I'm out of every single material that I stockpiled at the end of the last season, at the end of the last expansion, because I had to make so many more loadouts with the changes to mods and things like that, but also with the changes to resilience. You know, I had so many resilience mobility builds, so many resilience discipline builds, and those aren't as effective as they were. And so now I'm out of the 40 Ascendant shards that I had. I'm down to 3. My prisms are basically empty. I went from 500 enhancement shards, which enhancement cores, which isn't a ton, but I spend them regularly because I masterwork a lot of stuff and a lot of weapons. I'm down to 64. Like, this is the lowest I've been on every material in a long time, and it's almost like I can't do anything right now because I can't craft weapons. I got a Perpetualis crafted that I can't masterwork or put enhanced perks on because I won't have the materials to do it whenever I get to that level.
But now,
I've been hoping
if you're in pain like that, imagine new lights.
Yep, I was about to say that. Like, I have some a newer friend of mine that started playing the game a few seasons ago. Like, really got up to speed of everything fast. Like, he's already doing got Conquer the first season playing, but they are still struggling with the basic materials, like legendary shards. Like, they are down to 200, 100 all the time. Like,
it's sad.
On my end over here, it's my problem is the Ascendant alloys.
Oh
I
yeah,
am very much a completionist. I craft literally everything in the game, and I shouldn't. I don't use a lot of it, but I make it anyway. I can probably cut down on doing that, but either way, I started the season with 40, and I am down to 9.
Yeah,
and that is including the ones that's including extra drops and ones I bought from everything of the season.
So
that's something to me they don't think about, because they're like, oh, you've got the big whales, quote unquote, like the players, the veterans that have been there since the beginning of D2, that have been mass piling a lot of stuff. Like, I have way too many legendary shards, right? I think right now I'm 44k or something like that. And I used to be able to go up at least 1 to 2k every season up until I want to say season of the Lost. That's when things kind of fully change, and it's a struggle for me to just maintain my level of 44k every season, especially when a DLC drops, because when DLC drops you have to level up so many things. But before, you had so many ways of getting them, right? You could do a bunch of stuff, and then whatever. You had different avenues, and yes, some systems were broken. Looking at you, Season of Dawn. But you had ways of kind of farming it a little bit. Whereas now, it's very difficult. And if I'm seeing my pile kind of drop slowly, and I'm very conservative with what how I use them and so on and so forth. Your system is made so that you kind of take away from the veterans, but you're not thinking of the new lights who have literally nothing when they start. You're not giving them 2K and like whatever. You're giving them nothing. They have to amass it themselves. And then you're telling them, yeah, everything costs so much because our veterans are hoarders. We need to like deplete their resources because otherwise it's breaking the game. But you're just gonna get like the short end of things because that's how we have to do it. And it's kind of like, I feel that's so unfair to the new players. And it's kind of a turn off sometimes also when you have to grind for materials all the time just to get basic stuff.
Let me turn in my exotic ciphers for Ascendant Alloys or Ascendant Shards, right? Like if I'm doing one of those every week, right? And let me just other ways to get materials. And please, for the love of God, increase the amount of Ascendant Shards I can hold.
I agree with that.
We sound like a bunch of Guardians who like grew up with 20 different materials that we had to use for everything, and now it's down to 4. The economy dropped out from under us. Is this the great crash of 2008 all over again?
I still have planetary materials simply for the fact that what do I still have? I'm looking at Dim right now. I still have data lettuce and Dustlake shards because when I need glimmer, because I'm running out of glimmer all the time now.
Same.
But it's just the economy of the game has taken a hit with the changes that they've made to make things like crafting more accessible. I loved the original version of crafting with all 4 different types of resonant materials that you needed, and like I enjoyed that because I don't know, I'm weird. I've been playing MMOs since 1998, so like a bunch of different materials to craft weapons. I'm into it, right? I'm an almost 20-year vet of World of Warcraft, where crafting's just like that. So it's cool to see
somebody new coming in and being like,
they're screwed.
I need how many of these? Like, what the hell?
Now, to be fair,
why you would simplify that? It's just
But to be fair, and not to be like knocking on new players, because I love seeing all the new people playing Destiny. The crafting is an in-game activity. Crafting weapons is an in-game activity. That is not meant to be an entry-level thing. It is meant to be a way for experienced veteran players to craft the weapons that they already enjoy. And not to like gatekeep crafting away from new lights, but it's just not meant for them. You got to play the game to be able to get to access that content.
Yeah, you got to invest in the game to be able to do so. Yeah.
What are you doing?
So if they were to remove caps from the different materials that we have right now, right? If they were to remove the caps, would that how much of an impact do you feel like that would have on the economies? Would it be like a huge impact, or would it just be just nice to have?
So first, they're
So
never going to remove caps.
Okay.
They could make them higher. But I can tell you right now, they will never remove caps because they balance the economy in a very, very specific way. Sometimes it's a bit detrimental to players, but I can tell you right now, caps will never be removed. But I don't think we're asking for caps to be removed. I think we're just asking for caps to be like
increased,
augmented, increased
just a little bit. It doesn't have to be a ton. Let me hold 25 Ascendant Shards. Like, I don't need 50. Just give me 25.
Like one thing I'm saying is like we use the Postmaster as storage.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of all that needs to be said about a lot of this. We're using a system meant to like retrieve like missed loot as storage.
Yep.
Like I think that's a big red flag about the economy for the long time.
I agree. Or like, let me have 10 in my inventory and 10 in my vault. Like I don't care. Like let me have a way.
Just
like, do you know how
around?
Do you know how I bank my Ascendant Shards? Because I bank them because I'm like, I don't have space. I'm going to lose them because if I farm, I still have way too many things that go to the Postmaster and it pushes everything away. I put them in exotics that are like shit rolls. And I put 3 in and I get 1 back if I destroy the exotic, right? And I've been doing that for ages, for season upon seasons. And if I really need that, then I'll go into the quote unquote bank and I'll at least get 1 back for 3 that I've invested in. Better than nothing and better than losing 10 in my Postmaster because I was farming on the moon and then suddenly I received like 10,000 things because I was farming on the moon. Like, but I shouldn't have to do that. Let me put 10 in my vault at the very least and then 10 on me and then like at least I can move them around a little bit. And it's already 20 that I'm assured will still be there at the end of a farm session.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. What's wild for me is like I'm in a position where it's like unless they make another big sweeping armor change like they did back in Haunted with Resilience, I basically only ever use Senate Charge for an occasional exotic. I almost never use them. They're just sitting there. I wish I could trade them for alloys because they craft so much more stuff than a Masterwork armor.
Yeah, but now you need Ascendant Shards for enhanced traits on your crafted weapon. So
wait, really?
Yeah, right?
No. Was that on there? Or is this just alloys? I thought it was just the alloys.
It might be
I don't know if they really said yet.
Listen.
I don't even know if they said yet.
I was going to say it's a Monday, but it's Thursday.
But also you have to take into consideration for new lights, if they go to the monument to grab older weapons that are not available in game anymore, they have to pay an Ascendant Shard, right? That's something that they also have to get on top of the cipher thing. Like that's another thing. For us, it's like, okay, I'll throw my Ascendant Shards. Like you lose your stack in a Postmaster, it sucks. But you're like, okay, whatever, I'll grind again for it. Like I'll do 10 like Nightfalls, like Grandmasters, and I'll have them again. So it's just an inconvenience less than like a painful situation. It's more like, oh, I have to grind them again.
I lost 4 full stacks of Ascendant Shards and Prisms while preparing for Lightfall.
Yeah, exactly.
In my Postmaster. It was awful.
I'm amazed that I lose a single stack somehow. With everything I was doing, I thought I'd be losing it constantly. I somehow did not.
You're lucky. I've lost some too. You're like, okay, well, I have to go back and regrind whatever activity. It's frustrating, but it's for us at that level that we play and so on and so forth, and having people to help or people to play with, you're like, okay, it's an inconvenience, but I'll go do that. But when you think about new lights that may not have friends, that can't really, they throw a new light into a Grandmaster when they've never done that. Fun times, right?
But
I mean, it's possible. I'm not saying it's impossible, but like it's still an adventure for them.
Yeah,
Let's put it this way.
It's in a weird spot because like if we're like talking about shards, like and always like there's supposed to be endgame materials, but it feels like so many things that aren't quite endgame require them. So like I've noticed newer players really struggle there, like with the kiosks, for example, getting the old exotics. Now with the upcoming armor focusing to get the exotics, like the armor they need, it's like I don't want to consider, like, I wouldn't consider incentive charges to get an endgame material because they're so vital to actually like getting your basic build up and running.
Wouldn't you say that some of the exotics in the ciphers that would be in game as well, right? Like you have to have experience in the game to understand why those even work, anyways.
Yeah, it's a weird spot. It's almost like I don't know. I'd almost put like more of like a middle of the road kind of thing where it's like I think this should be easier for newer players to obtain, essentially. Like I think right now they're trying to drain us of resources so much, like veteran players, that I think new players are getting really kind of stuck behind.
The final shape is a wallet that when you open it, a moth flies out.
I already have one of those.
I have one of those too.
Sabathoon's moth too.
Same.
She's
Come
back.
on, yeah. Come on, dude. I'm a millennial. My wallet's always done that.
Kind of last question of the day. Thank you guys so much for being on so far.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, like I'm so glad that you guys answered the call. And I was like, this is gonna be a good episode. This will be a good conversation. Like you guys both know like a lot about the game and like while coming from different backgrounds. I mean, Nell, you come from like dev, and Freak, you're a really good player, man. You're a really freaking good player. My question is, we have Grandmasters coming next week. What?
Oh, don't remind me. I'm saying that for a reason I'll get into in a minute.
Yeah. So what builds are you taking in? What do you feel is going to be the most successful on day one?
Listen, okay. First of all, I'll probably only do them on my Hunter and my Warlock. I'll probably leave my Titan behind this time around, just because my Titan's still lacking in exotics. But when it comes to my Hunter, and I'm not gonna lie, if I'm running Void, I am running Orpheus Rig, and I'm running probably a Mobility and Discipline tier 10 stat. If I'm running any other subclass, and I mean any other subclass, I'm throwing on Star Eaters. It's like, I am a 2-trick pony, but it's because it works for me and it's what I've been doing for so long. And the damage increase whenever you need that burst damage of Star Eaters is just unmatched by some of the other exotics. I mean, I might try out Celestial in a build, but for the most part, like, those are what I'm going to use. And then in terms of weapons, I mean, we all see what Thunderlord and Rocket groups are doing. So we're probably going to see that again with your choice of primary and your choice of secondary.
Yep. So I'll say generally, I think we're going to see a lot of the usual stuff, a lot of like, again, like Orpheus rigs, Omni Echoes, like the regular hunter builds. I think we're going to be seeing probably not. I think like for Strand, I think Swarmers and or actually probably necrotic builds are going to do a lot. The new Titan boots, I think Titan is going to be like Titan 1 Strand. Like I think we kind of all come to that conclusion by now. All three are nuts, but that one is insane. I think we're going to see a lot of Strand Titans just like handling champions that are not even matching to. So I think we're going to see a lot of the nothing too creative though. I don't think. I think it's going to be more a lot of the same, even if the strikes are a little harder. Yep. And honestly, with the Tormentors being a thing, I think we're going to be actually seeing linears again, despite the big nerf they got. I think we're going to see precision weapons just destroy them. Now, why I was so made that comment earlier is I told myself before the season I'm going to be doing all 6 on my solos on Strand, no matter what they are. And then we got Heist Battlegrounds and New Lake of Shadows. And now I saw this week that the Lake of Shadows Nightfall makes a difference from the playlist version, where in that little enclosed room that used to be Shadow Thrall and are now dogs, it's neither on the Nightfall version. It's a Tormentor with 4 Acolyte eyes respawning in the corner shooting at you.
I got
in that tiny little room.
I got so mad yesterday when I went on Master. You don't understand. We were 3 people, okay? 3 people that are like, I would say, good at the game, like been playing this game for forever, have all done Conqueror, have all done multiple GMs and so on and so forth. And the whole time, and I swear, the whole time we're like, yeah, this ain't it, Chief. This ain't it.
Yeah.
This ain't it. Like the whole.
Yep. I have opinions on the strike reworks. I'm not really going to go too into. I think one of them was done really well, and the other one not so much. But in terms of GMs, I am terrified of trying that one solo. That's for sure.
Yeah,
I don't like that one. I think there would have been a better way to make the changes to like a Shadows without changing many things, and make it way more entertaining and way more engaging. But I'm not going to go back into this. I've talked about it before. But like existing assets, by the way, like you don't even have to add existing assets that would have actually used older assets. But they went with this weird way of like, oh yeah, we're going to put Threshers in. We're going to put a freaking like Tormentor. We're going to put eyes, like Acolyte eyes. We're going to put like Shadow Legion Cabal instead of taking. Like, it's so like baffling to me. And I played it on Master, like so regular, right? And the whole and a meatball because why not throw a meatball in there?
Hold on. I like how you said I'm not going to go into it, and then immediately start going into.
No, I didn't go into the changes that I would have made. That's the difference. Okay. But anyway, like they made all these changes that are just baffling to me, and kind of make it just so much more long. It's difficult, but it's mainly longer, and I get that was the point. Yep. But it's longer for no reason. Make it longer while it's engaging. Don't make it longer while it's boring.
Right.
What I've been saying is like the arms deal rework. I actually love that. I really like what they did with it. They made it long enough without making it like way too long. Made it hard enough without making it way too hard. Actually make you fight the boss. I think they only added like 2 detours around the entire original route. 2 or 3 small detours, nothing really crazy, and they made it work. The Lake of Shadows one is now a Cabal strike instead of a Taken strike.
Yes.
We don't know. They didn't even actually. Even like the Arms Deal rework narratively, they actually explain why the boss has the same name, which I think is kind of cheesy, but also like actually like. I'm glad they made that work. I'm glad they actually gave a reason. Like made that work, but we still don't know what is this big Taken phalanx. What's going on here? Why are we fighting this guy when this is a Cabal strike? You know, it was like, I think they could for reasons. They still have the whole Curse of Osiris area, like that one road that
That's literally what I've been saying.
That.
That for me was the whole thing. Just make us go this way. Yeah, make it go this way, and then put the Cabal there because there's a reason for the Cabal to be there. And then when you go back to the entrance to go into like the bridge, make it the same that it used to be because there's no need for a change there.
Mm.
It's a weird one.
Listen, narrative is hard. Narrative is hard.
Yeah, but then you could have changed the whole narrative. See?
I honestly, I almost like I like the narrative reworks Arms Dealer. I think narratively, Lake of Shadows, like I think they should have just left it alone. Use the same dialogue and just have us go like add more to the strike itself.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would have been a tasteful way to do it. I'd even be fine with the meatball boss. I think if they kept it a more taken focused strike, I think that would have been more reasonable. Maybe a little less health, but
yeah, I agree.
So I like back to Dan's original question, like what we're bringing in. That it is anyone, yeah, is anyone considering stasis in these, right? Like I feel like this might be a time for renewal grass for hunters to maybe shine with some of the ones that are out there, especially with the enemy density, right? Like on the third pillar of Mars, right? Like there's so many enemies and there's so little place to actively fight without getting your head knocked off. Might be a way to finally use renewal crafts in an in-game activity.
I
was gonna say Osmiomancy with turrets.
That's what I was gonna say too. Osmiomancy, I think, is still a really good crowd control exotic, and is something that I am planning on bringing with me when I do GMs on Warlocks.
So let's clarify for people who aren't Warlocks. I feel like this might be finally a chance for Stasis to make an appearance in GMs. Renewal Grass has always been great, but you've never needed it because of the layout of the GMs that we were running through, right? Like you don't need them in Glassway. You honestly don't need them in Lake of Shadows, even with the new layout of the strike. But I just keep thinking about how many times I'm going to get hit in the head by random enemies and Mars Battleground Heist and thinking that maybe a damage reduction is something we're actually going to need.
Yeah, I think my strat on this one, I'm just be hiding in that little building, just like chucking grenades at the point to keep them off it, and that's it. I think that's all I'm gonna be doing. Like occasionally peeking out, toss a nade down, pray, go back inside, wait it out a little bit.
Right.
You don't need to stand at the point. You just need to get them off the point.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's something I see a lot in the match made one. People think I have to stay on it.
No,
but, I don't know. I think Stasis is still in a weird spot to me. Like I have builds set up for all three classes, but I think it's in one of them is renewal grass build. I still think it's in a kind of a weird. It's so weird to say this because it used to be like best of the best, absolutely like power crept to hell built like subclass, and now I think it's been like left behind after the 3.0s, and especially by Strand.
Even though it was like I feel like thing that like pushed that
launch
forward.
3.0.
Yeah, like even with the, like the turrets, like I still think like other subclasses do the same kind of idea better.
Well, now you have suspend, right? Like now
Exactly.
every class can do essentially what the turrets is doing. And if you're a hunter, you have 2 charges. You have 2 grenades to suspend things. And if you're running Osteo as a hunter, Strand hunter, you have your grenade nonstop. And it's wild. So it's like I'm gonna try some. I said I'm gonna do those 2 exotics. I might try some things. I might try Gemini Jesters this season, just to see what disorientation's like in a GM. Because
do those work in PvP? Do those do anything in PvP?
Yeah. Oh yeah. They disoriented minors and elites for 5 seconds.
Never knew that.
Yeah. I don't know. Let's just
the gears are turning in Freak's head.
Let me give a reason for SSJ Jacob to hate running GMs with me even more. All I do is stress him out with what I run and how I play. I'm super aggressive, but I always have been. It is what it is. So I'm just
All right. Well, hey guys, thank you so much for coming and hanging out. Where can people find you on the internet? Starting with you, Nell.
Like I said, everywhere at Nelstar15. If you follow me on Twitter, you've been warned. I tweet a lot. It's like my chain of thought. It's one of those like ADHD neurodivergent things. I need to get things off my chest. I just need to say them, so I post them on Twitter.
That.
I feel that.
Yep.
I feel that one.
So I tweet a lot, but I also use it to get groups and people together. Again, find me on Instagram if you want to see pictures of Moxley, my dog. So if you're a wrestling fan, you know where I got his name. TikTok as well. I'm trying to get better at uploading, but I haven't been. But I upload like once or twice a month. But it's always really cool things like, an entire team wipe in Iron Banner. Last time we had Iron Banner, it was really fun to knock out 7 people in a row with Battler. So, yeah.
Heck yeah. N-Freak, what about you?
Yep. So you can find me at NFreak on Twitter and Twitch. Like I said before, my Twitter is locked right now because I'm on the job hunt, but feel free to follow if you want to see the same kind of unhinged stream of consciousness tweets. Go for it. A lot of very cursory tweets and occasional content in there, but you know how it goes. And since I couldn't get the same name on YouTube and TikTok, it is NFreakD2 over there. So just slap D2 at the end of it, and there you go. But yeah, I think that's the 4 I got. YouTube and TikTok, I do need to use some more, but
I think that's true for everybody.
I've had 2 video scripts with game footage recorded for the past like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and I haven't done it yet.
For me, it's the anxiety. It's like I want to sit down, I want to write the script, and then it's like, all right, now I know how to do the mechanics. I just need to write it down. It's going.
For me, it's always the audio. It's always the audio recording part for me. Oh. It is always recording the script for me every time.
It's the worst.
I don't want to hear it back. I don't want like.
Oh yeah, I feel
it like you hear how I talk. It takes me like 5 takes to get a single line out. So it's like YouTube is hard for me.
I'm the opposite of y'all. Like, it's easy for me to write the script. It's easy for me to come up with the idea. It's easy for me to record. I don't know if it's because I have a background in like broadcast television, like TV news. I hate editing. That is why all of my TikToks are clips from my stream thrown through Streamladder, which automatically edits for me. And all that jazz. And now I have the OBS plugin for vertical. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not doing fancy stuff on TikTok, but it is quality stuff. Like, I'm not putting up just random crap. Like, but I hate editing. Like, whenever I was doing Final Fantasy 14 content on YouTube, I had my buddy edit for me. I was like, I'm going to record the audio. Here's a bunch of B-roll. Make it 12 minutes long, and then combine these two, please.
For me, so for this show, I do like a up to like 5 to 7 minute, basically monologue of just like, hey, here's the things that happened during the show, like during the week, and that is always that 5 to 7 minutes is always 21 to 30 minutes of me just recording and like saying something. I'm like, no, I don't like the way that I said that. Let's try that. Let's try this again. And just like going back and back and back until finally I'm like, you know what? Screw it. We're just going to do the simple version of this. It'll go back and then that's the cut that I go with. It usually takes me 3 tries before I say it exactly the way that I want it to. And then into the mixer it goes. But it's a whole damn thing. My name's Danfinity. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram and the TikTok at Danfinity, where the ice rails. You can also find me on Twitch 3 days a week, helping Guardians through in-game activities in Destiny 2. If you want to join a helpful community in Destiny 2, please consider joining the Discord, discord.gg/Danfinity. If you want to support the show, please remember to rate and review on your podcast platform of choice. And if you want to send $3 a month to help keep the lights on over here, head on over to coffee.com/Danfinity. That is ko-fi.com/Danfinity. All the links are in the notes for the show. Thank you so much for listening. And I hope you find what you're grinding for.